Hey everyone, I'm Adam and welcome to the final part of our Samhain builds for this giant creature suit for the Haunted House Party movie. In this episode, we're going to be showing taking our pumpkin head out of the mold, seaming it, painting it, and then fabricating his giant tree bark suit, test fitting it and getting it all ready for sending to be filmed on set for the Haunted House Party movie. So our first step is taking the latex polyfoam head out of the fiberglass mold. With this, we only needed one casting of the head. Now, once we get the latex head out of the mold, we have to trim all the seam lines and then seam it so you don't see like the giant line where our two halves of the mold met. This is just trimming with a little pair of scissors, and then we use a combo of Cabasil and Praze mixed together, kind of like a peanut butter consistency. And with that, we seam the latex, we hide that seam line, and then we also use that to fix any bubbles or things like that. Once we get a final feel of the weight and scale of the head in latex and foam, we can kind of start figuring out how to make his mouth move, how to start figuring out how to fit it on someone's head, or is the arms gonna puppeteer the mouth? I mean, with this one, since we're building and figuring out and designing as we go, every time we get a component, like getting the head out of the molds, once we have our hands on it, we can kind of be like, maybe the mouth functions this way, or maybe it's better if it's on a helmet and above his arms. I mean, for this suit, we weren't even sure if he was gonna have rod arms or gloves or something, but as we were doing the builds, it just made more and more sense for it to be just a guy in a costume with gloves and a puppeted head on top of his head. What if you are just inside of him? You're great?
I don't know. You will get more control.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we'd have
Some attachment.
something that you're in.
Yeah.
Some kind of cap attached to a helmet. You know, that's holding it here. So we got a helmet and we fabricated an aluminum pole on top of that and built a fiberglass dome. And this is helping keep the head at the right height so that our actor's seeing out of right in the center of his mouth. From there, we can kind of figure out, okay, well, how do we get this mouth to close? So we ended up fabricating with just PVC pipes, a kind of a jawline that we glued and hinged to the helmet, and you need a second performer to operate the jaw from behind the head. And that gets it so his mouth can open and close, but the actor, once we noticed he had it on his head, he can kind of contour the mouth a bit by just like looking up, his mouth opens, and looking down, his mouth kind of naturally shuts with the amount of material that's around his neck and head. And after that, we go right into painting. Now, painting latex, you can kind of do a bunch of different ways. The way we like to do it is with rubber cement, thinned down with rubber cement thinner, and then using oil paints to give us our pigments. So we started with a full wash over the whole head of a dark brown, and we use our rubber cement thinner to kind of wipe down the highlights and stuff. And then we just start modeling different tones of reds and pinks. We really wanted to keep this head kind of on the reddish orange side to really give you a feel that it's a pumpkin, even though it's not. The fingers on top for his stem, we kind of gave it like a sickly green color, so it looks like a green-brown kind of stem. If you're standing 10 feet away, it kind of looks like a pumpkin, like a jack-o'-lantern head, but it's not until you get close you realize it's just flesh and humans. Once it's painted, we start figuring out, okay, what's the inner mouth gonna be? What are the hollows of the eyes gonna be? Because those weren't in our sculpture, those have to be fabricated and added. We wanted some textures there, even though they're just very dark and black. So for stuff like the inner mouth, we just used like a sheet of latex, and then we used pantyhose to kind of create this webbing inside the mouth that just makes it look busy, but vague and dark. And once we add slime and stuff to there, when it's finally ready to shoot, it'll just look like webby, stretchy flesh. We did put a little window of black mesh back there so the actor can see still. From the outside, it's just dark and vague. And then for the body, this was a tricky one. This was kind of like, designing what the body looks like. What's this character gonna be? Is his body a mishmash of human bodies? I kind of like the idea of the traditional jack-o'-lantern head character that's like dark. You just kind of picture like a jack-o'-lantern with the spooky trees. I really wanted to kind of really lean into that old school design, but revamped in a new kind of way. I really was thinking that kind of Tim Burton-y, tree bark, branchy feel, almost like a Swamp Thing character. So we started with a wetsuit, and we put a wetsuit on our life cast of our suit performer that we've worked with before. And then we start fabricating components of this, kind of like L200, but it's like a dense white fabrication foam. I don't know, we source it from a company locally, but it's a really nice kind of foam you can carve and texture and shape with like a heat gun and stuff. We knew with the actor and the size of the head, we really needed to like bulk out this way. We really needed to make the head feel like it's proportioned to the body and not just like a big bobblehead. So we started with bulking out the shoulders, bulking out the arms, kind of trying to extend the arms. It just kind of evolved into, it should just be bark. The branches looked really nice, fabricating like twisty branches out of this foam. And then we just started building up with branches and layering layers of bark and then incorporating some large kind of vine shapes. And this was just a slow, every day we'd stand back, we'd look, we'd put the head on, and we would go, there needs to be something shooting out here, and now this side feels empty, let's stick a branch there.
Broke off.
Well, she's still heading back here. It's like, I don't want this. I kind of want that. Okay.
And with this, we're using barge, which is like a leather adhesive. Two good types of adhesive is barge and weldwood. So we ended up building a lot of the components and just barging stuff onto this wetsuit. We had a kind of ghoul torso. We wanted some exposed human bodies within the bark, just to kind of make the head make a little bit more sense with the body. It kind of feels like it's the same creature, not just like tree body, pumpkin head. So we gave it a ghoul ribcage torso, and kind of some fleshy soft spots where we needed it to be really thin material, where the actor can bend, like in between the elbows and under the arms and stuff. And then getting the actor inside, seeing how he moves, having him put the head on. We would step back and keep adjusting the body as we go and just slowly evolving the design until finally we were kind of in a happy place with the body and how it moved.
Oof, is that fighting you at all?
No, not really. It's really, really durable foam, so.
Yeah, we put a lot of glue in there. I mean, my thought is you're probably going to be on a box the whole time, and you're kind of just doing this kind of thing.
We used Plasti Dip, which is a nice spray can plastic kind of black base coat. We base the whole thing in black. And then we just go on with acrylics. We just start adding highlights to the bark and adding, textures and things. The chest, we kept raw latex, and we used rubber cement on those areas so that it matched the head. And then we did sheets of latex vines. Now this is just stippling a thin layer of tinted black latex on a smooth board and then rolling it to create these kind of twisty, thin latex vines, which we incorporated all around the bib and winding and growing on the chest and kind of hanging here and there. This is like our hangy bits to really feel like he just came out of the ground and is a part of a tree and there's vines and things growing all over him. It also helps hide seam lines because it just looks busy and it's just black little noodles everywhere. You don't see the giant seam on the bib and stuff like that. We keep adding and painting and adjusting, putting the head on, and just making it as cool as we can as we go. Now, once we saw him on there and the size of the head, we knew we had to make some arm extensions. We were kind of trying to avoid that, especially avoiding mech hands just for budgetary reasons. It just seemed silly to not have cool moving hands on this. We ended up 3D printing cable operated hands, just like the old school little Terminator hands. It's just pull cables with a spring retraction for the length of the fingers. And then we just ran foam latex skins out of monster hands we've made previously. And then we fabricate the foam latex with barge and create his creepy monster twisted hands. Again, hiding the seams, blend areas with vines and black goo and modeling veins everywhere. And within the big bark chunks, our actor's hands are hidden and pulling these cable fingers and extending the creature's arms about 1.5 feet, really making the head balance out with the length of the arms.
So can they be angled a little bit?
Yeah, you can angle them this way, fine.
Excellent.
So whatever you want. Same with this. Thumb moves.
Those lock nuts in there?
Yeah, they're lock nuts. They're just tightened.
This creature was only ever to be shot from the waist up. We built a little bit beyond his waist, about to his knees, and then we cut off there because he's supposed to be 9-10 feet tall in the shots, and we're never really seeing his legs walking around. So the camera's always kind of looking up at this character, and he's interacting with actors in a house, so the performer's just going to be on apple boxes the whole time pretty much. That'll sell the illusion of the height, and then the length of the arms and the size of the head should really give this character an imposing feel in this movie. I'm really happy with how this character turned out. I think he came out really freaky and a really interesting design, and I'm really proud of kind of the old school feel of a jack-o'-lantern headed character, brought with an interesting twist of the human bodies and the tree incorporations and things like that to kind of give it a new interesting take. So thank you guys for watching. Please let us know any of your questions in the comments and we'll get back to you on how we built this character, any materials or anything. We're really proud of this puppet / costume, and we can't wait to show you guys the final creature in Haunted House Party.